good evening, everybody. It's the Denver Bronco Roundup, brought to you by Rocky Mountain Sports Network and sponsored by Willow Seasonings and Blends. I am one of three of your hosts you can see here every single Tuesday. And just being one of three, I should welcome in the rest. My name's Keith Brugman. I'll welcome in Mr. Albert Knoppers. Welcome, Albert.
Howdy, y'all.
Welcome, Albert. I love the smile, even after an unexpected loss once again. Albert's always coming in here with a great mood, always ready to go, also always ready to go, and sometimes just a little bit more fired up. We'll try to keep him in rein tonight. I know that he was already fired up backstage. Welcome in the judge, Jody Moncrief. How you doing, Jody?
What's up? As good as you can for an 0-2 start, I guess.
As good as you can for an 0-2 start, yes. We're coming to you as fans. Sometimes that's not always the easiest to do. And try to come in here with a smile on our faces and an upbeat attitude and be raring to go. So appreciate you guys, everybody that's coming in, including some of our friends already. Matt Staffiero coming in saying, sup gents. Hope you guys have a great show, and thank you very much, Matt. Appreciate it, and appreciate you jumping in to the Rocky Mountain Sports Network and checking out our show, man. Appreciate you every time we see you. So, Matt, Matt, thank you very much. So, another one in here, good friend of mine, Jeremy, saying, sup, fellas, go Broncos and Buffs. And, man, if you're a Buffs fan, you ain't got much to complain about. I mean, you would have liked to maybe not have a nail biter, but 3-0 is a lot better where you stood last year. I can tell you that right now. So, Buffs fans are elated, that's for sure. So, and Mr. Sis here, evening, man, evening to you, sir. Always great to have you in the chat, and appreciate you jumping in. So, got one more. It seems like everyone's just jumping in here. Got Danny Kitchen coming in saying, what's up, fellas? What's up with you, Danny? We're talking a little bit of 0-2 Denver Broncos, trying to be upbeat. We're going to try to keep the tamper down on Jody. He was all fired up. Albert's always positive. We'll see if that continues after an 0-2 start. So lots of stuff going on. One more, and then we'll get into our show. And this is from Facebook user Roger. We definitely suck again. I don't know how else to handle it, but with laughter. Kind of like Albert, with a smile on his face. Go Broncos, eventually. Yeah, well, Roger, I understand the sentiment. We had high expectations coming into this game, coming into this season, and it's not really what we got. I think there's no better way to actually maybe start it off, and then we're going to get to everybody else. We'll listen to the coach and see what he had to say. So start with the coach, guys.
Really a tale of two games. The first, call it quarter and a half, we played things kind of like we wanted to, relative to being on schedule. The number one key in this game with this team, and we looked at it, every one of their losses, every one of their games last year where they didn't have a takeaway, they lost the game. And we give them the ball at midfield, and that momentum shifts kind of at that point with the fumble. I didn't think we played well defensively. Second half, I think they were 100% every time they entered the red zone. They scored a touchdown. Offensively, we were slow with our communication. That was frustrating. So that's got to start with us, with me.
Coach kind of broke it down really well. Matt's coming in, and I'll hit this comment, and then I'm going to slide over to Jody for his first part of this, I guess you could say. I'll get his first take on all of this. But he says, bottom line, Matt's coming in saying, bottom line, the Broncos as a team have failed through 2 weeks. Can't win games if you don't play a full game. Kind of like the coach said, it's a tale of two halves. I want to get your thoughts on the first half only. We'll go first half, then we'll go second half. Jody, I'm going to help you out just a little bit. Like I said, we want to keep everybody in line. We're going to put you on the clock Got 60 seconds. Talk about the first half. You ready, buddy?
No, I thought the first half was great. They set plays up with they set plays up with the run, or set pass plays up with the run. They were feeding Javonte Williams. Russ 2 big shots down the field. They used Marvin Mims and his speed. They were basically doing everything right up until that fumble, and it kind of turned momentum. I'd say that in the grand scheme of things is probably minor in my opinion, because the ball was at the 50. Defense couldn't stop anything yesterday or Sunday, and that's where it changed. Couldn't stop them on fourth down, the first touchdown, then gave up the 2-point conversion.
Oh, I think you're starting to get into a second half now, buddy. First half. All right.
Or
I think we're.
No, that was in the first, wasn't it? The
I'm
touchdown
sorry.
and then the 2 points
Sorry.
to get it to
I'm sorry,
14.
bud. I'll give you 2 more seconds.
But an all-around grade for the first half, I'll give offense a solid A. I'll give the defense, up until that fumble and not stopping anybody, probably a C plus.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm not going to knock you too bad on that. I'm going to get to Albert here in just a second because I just do want to get to a few people that are jumping in the chat. Travis coming in on Facebook saying the best thing we can do right now is best thing to do we can do now is fire VJ right now. We all can see what the real issue is and let Christian Parker learn on the fly, or let Rosberg to coach the D, and they couldn't be any worse. But Vance has to go immediately. Wow. So we got some strong opinions coming in. We'll get more into that as obviously we get into that second half. I'm going to see if there's any other first half comments that we want to get into right off the bat. I do like this one. Kenny, good evening, fellas. Good to see you as always. Ha, ha, ha. I'm still in that countdown, Keith. So I appreciate it, Kenny.
I like
Yeah.
Kurt's comment too.
Say again?
I like Kurt's comment too. If anyone thinks Russ is the problem, they are nuts.
This is true. This is true. Kind of can get into that second half, because in the first half, there wasn't much that you could say about Russ and, what he did in that first half. If anybody just watched the first half of that game and had criticism of Russ, I'd say that they were absolutely nuts. As we get into the second half, maybe we have more to add to that. But sticking with that first half, Albert, are you ready to go on the clock? Talk about the first half?
Absolutely.
All right, man. You're up.
Okay. I'm trying not to watch the clock. Russ, in my opinion, was the MVP of the first half. Even although he had that fumble, was it a true fumble? If you consider that he also had a face mask that was not counted for, then I do not consider that a fumble, because it should have been officiated properly. He had the deep balls. We needed to see the deep balls. We know that Russ can do it. And we saw it in the first half a couple times. Scoring on 3 of the first drives, that is, we have not seen that before. Russ also, and this is mainly on Russ, also received some records. He is the 15th all-time quarterback to score 40,000 passing yards, the 15th fastest. And also, he is also the first quarterback ever to have 5,000 rushing yards and 41,000 passing. So
All right.
You cannot blame that on Russ.
Yeah, first half, I think everyone would admit, fantastic half of football. Honestly, I sat there and I watched that half of football, and I thought, I was elated. I was jumping up and down. I was scaring my dog. My wife had a smile on her face because I had a smile on my face. I still remember after it was 21-3 and we were marching around midfield, and I turned to my wife. I'm like, we could be up 28-3, possibly even 35-3 at halftime. That's how well things were going. It looked like a runaway train. Defense could play a little bit better, but Russ was getting there. We had sacks in the first half that we didn't see yet again in the second half. nearly as much. We saw pressure on the quarterback. So overall, as Jody kind of did, he kind of put a ranking on this offense, a ranking on this defense. Yeah, A plus. I mean, up until the fumble on that by Russell Wilson, maybe taking that into account, you got to give him a B plus just because there's a fumble on the play. It's a turnover. Is what it is. It's going to happen sometimes. Doesn't mean that your entire team is deflated. Defense, similarly, I would probably say B minus. They were playing pretty dang well. They kept containment. Running game hadn't gotten taken off. Hal was pretty much kept in check. We're talking about 3 points up until that point. So overall, in a good position heading into halftime. All changes, though. All changes. Maybe we'll hear from the coach one more time. Give me just a second. I'll get this loaded up, guys. So, just making sure I got the...
Maybe I can go over some comments. Let's see. Trevor, Sean Payton deserves most of the blame here, in my opinion. He hired Fiji, and the offense second half woes have been a real issue. Not sticking up for the defense, but we cannot deny how bad the offense is after halftime. I don't think it was the offense that was bad. I think the Commanders, their defense, they tuned it up a notch. And on McGlinchey side, yeah, that was weak. But I think the Commanders did a tremendous job in adjusting.
All right. I'm going to leave a little bit more to that second half. Yeah, I'm going to throw a video up or two. Sorry, it took me a second, but it'll be right, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone's getting deflated. It's just a matter of the game of football. Ball security, punting the ball against this opponent wasn't a bad thing, and so, all of a sudden they have the ball midfield, and that leads to points. It was one of the big things we talked about that we got to be better with.
Yeah. So, oops, removed the wrong person. Sorry there, buddy. I accidentally removed Jody. I'll get this all squared away. Working with a little bit more tonight, guys, so I appreciate you hanging with me. Turnovers is one of the big things that they talked about. Turnovers started the turnaround into that second half. But he talked about, again, being deflated and how that can't be the case, how you just have to pick it up. It's one play at a time. You need to make those adjustments and you need to move on. Jody, I'm going to get to you for the second half first, since we'll keep the same rotation. Talk to me about the second half, and then we're going to kind of wrap up this game at the end, maybe get a little Judge Jody to finish us up at the end of this second half segment, all right?
I thought the second half was garbage, from play calling to execution to everything. Defense can't stop anyone. They can't get off on third down. They gave up points every time the Commanders were in the red zone. And then on offense, it's like we just go away from what's working. In the first half, we set up big plays with the run. We don't even try to run the ball in the second half. We don't even get our playmakers on the field, Mims or McLaughlin. And then also the bad, getting plays in. That's on both. That's on Russ and Peyton. Late substitution, that's not on Russ. That's on Peyton. He's putting those guys in late. Watching Russ on that last drive when they kicked the field goal, that's on Russ. That's communication, and it was all bad.
Left a lot to be desired, obviously, in the second half, and I'm going to get to some of these comments that are coming in as we went through. This is Kurt again saying this is squarely on the defense. 2 games, 2 blown leads, garbage. I want Rex. Get to a few more in here, guys. I apologize. Roger coming in there and saying Russell just looked at the ball and made no effort to try to recover it. I did want to bring up that really quick. I'll start with Albert. But for me, When that fumble happened and watching it on replay and seeing him pointing at the ball. Now, at first I was worried, man, if he dives in there, will he get hurt? But as a good friend of the show once said, it doesn't matter who you are, what position you play. You see a fumble on the field, you go for it. I'm a little bit more in that mentality. Albert, how do you feel about that fumble? Oh, can't hear you, buddy.
Oh. I think he felt completely differently. He thought he might have gotten a face mask penalty. And if you think like that, then and he was correct in that, but you don't get it, then I can look at the ball and think, oh, that the ball is for me because it was a face mask. I see a flag thrown down, and there's a face mask. So why should I go after it and risk anything? And that is probably what he was thinking. And so, yeah, we have seen some weird situations, but yeah, to me, if the referees can see a fumble but not a face mask, I think there's a problem there too. And I think there's a big problem with the referees lately.
That brings me to a good point, guys. If you go all the way to the very top of the chat, maybe I'll drop it in at the end of the show, or if I get a second here in the mid-show, check out Albert's fantastic article over on Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Like I said, it's dropped right at the top of the chat. You can find it there. Talks a little bit about the refs and maybe how much they had to play in this game. I'm sure he'll get to a little bit more of that in his second half as well, but wanted to get Jody's initial reaction on that fumble by Russell Wilson. Did seem to change the momentum of the game. Did allow the Commanders to get back into it in a sort, and it certainly took off in that second half. But what did you think about the fumble and Russ not going for it, or the whole circumstance that was around that?
It was a bad fumble, but I think if you watch Russ right away, he's pointing at the ground thinking he was down. And I'm a big Russ defender, but I'm not going to give him a pass. If it's in doubt, go for the ball. And it did turn tides in this momentum, but it caught that fumble right there was not in scoring position, and this D could have stopped someone. They can't stop anyone. They haven't been able to stop anyone, and that could have switched the momentum right back if you shut them down right there, and they did nothing. Let them go down and score a touchdown.
Very true. That was an opportunity for them to step up. Could have made a big stand there. Could have made a difference, obviously, in that game, as just as much as the fumble did and the scoring, that happened after that. So, put a little bit on the defense. They need to step up in a few instances as well. That was that first instance within this game where they really need to step up, and they didn't. And just catching up, I apologize. I will get to you, I promise, Albert, on their second half. But I want to get to a few of our comments. Trevor coming in here and saying, Sean Payton deserves most of the blame here, in my opinion. He hired VJ, and the offense second half woes have been a real issue. Not sticking up for the defense, but we cannot deny how bad the offense is after halftime. Michael Ronquillo just coming in here and saying, good evening, Keith, Jody, and Albert. Oh, by the way, Trevor, great comment. I know I'm going to hit on a lot of those comment pieces as well. I'm sure Albert will in his piece. And some of that was hit on by Jody. So overall, great analysis. I love it. But Michael coming in here saying, good evening, Keith, Jody, Albert, giving us the heart, giving us the loves. We appreciate you a ton. And then Kenny coming in saying, defense, yes, number one problem, but football, the last I checked, is 4 quarters and 2 halves. Poor play calling in the second half against the Commanders, in my opinion. Sorry, but Sean Payton needs to get some blame because everyone would be ripping Hackett apart if he was coaching this team. Great point, Kenny. And I think I only have a few more. I'll get to them, and I promise I'm getting caught up with Albert. Albert's so patient, always has a smile on his face, but Danny's coming in here and says, we still have a subpar offensive line. This is Kenny just coming in. He's agreeing with Trevor in his comment, kind of like we agreed as well. Adam and Kayla coming in saying, if we don't win by trade deadline, sell the farm, build for the future, just in my opinion.
I have a
And
question based on that.
just let me get just a couple in, and then I promise I'll wrap back around. I got to get to Albert too, man. He hasn't even got his
Just
60
quick
seconds.
question. Just a
Okay,
quick
go ahead
question
quickly.
based off of that. When you say sell for the future, I'm asking the chat, who are guys you want to see? Are you all in Simmons, Sutton's, PS2? Who are you all in selling? Where does it stop? Does it stop before Sutton? Does it stop after Sutton? Where are you at with that?
Put your names in. Put the names of the players in the chat of who you'd put up for sale if we don't win by the deadline. Trade deadline is week 9, I think it is. That would be right about our bye week, if I remember correctly. So, let's see, a couple more, and then we're getting to Albert. He's getting to Michael. He's saying Vance Joseph was the wrong hire for the Broncos defensive coordinator. Just another one real quick. Adam and Kayla, recovery, some cap space and picks. Recover some draft picks and picks. And then I will get to Trevor after that. I'm going to put Albert on the clock for his 60 seconds and the second half. Albert, we had a fantastic first half. Second half was not what anybody expected coming out. I think that we expected a little bit more, especially getting the ball to start the second half. But give me your 2 cents on what you saw. Your 60 seconds starts about now.
Well, the offensive line, Mike McClinchy was a big detriment. He was giving the opportunity for the pass rusher, Trace Young, or whatever his name is, to get through a couple times. I think that's where one of the problems was. And the problem is, if you don't run the ball, then you have to pass. And Mike McClinchy is not a great pass protector. And we know that. So either we change Mike McClinchy or we start running the ball. I think that's part of the thing. I said several times I saw holds done by the Commanders defense, and that didn't get flagged for. Yeah, if you also play against the refs, it does not make it easier. And then we have that 2-point conversion. Everybody could see that wasn't pass interference. So why not at that moment give them a pass interference? So if the refs are against you, you have a much harder time to win. The Commanders, I have to give the Commanders kudos because they were able to adjust. They came up with a better scenario, and it looks like that Sean Payton does not have that. Same thing last week. He came up with a game plan for the second half, and it totally backfired, and it happened again. So I think that is on Sean Payton. And if you don't run the ball much more, then I think we are going to see much more of the same what we saw this weekend.
Yeah, quite possibly, man. Changes need to happen. Some people were in changes from the very beginning, and I'll get to a few of those right now because I wanted to get back to the comments. And Trevor's coming in saying, I was never a fan of the Broncos hiring VJ in the first place. If I was the head coach, I would have done everything I could to keep Evero as the DC. That would have been fantastic. Trevor, from all accounts, he didn't want the interim job. He didn't want to be interviewed for the position. He wanted out once Hackett was gone, and him and Hackett had a great relationship, and so be it. We loved Evero. Maybe Fangio would have been a better option in that same tree, and it became pretty close. And, of course, there's one other one. This is Kurt Valente coming in from the amazing K&K Sports Show. I didn't mention it, but Kenny is also from the K&K Sports Show. If you guys are checking out sports, major sports, coast to coast, not just with Colorado flavor, head over to the K&K Sports Show. They do fantastic, and they just have a ton of shows. Wits and Wagers, Broncos shows, Giants shows, you name it. You got to check them out. But he's saying, I love what Rex said the other day. He wants this job. He is the kind of DC we need. What happened the last 2 games would never happen under Rex. Graham coming in on YouTube. And by the way, guys, that means if Graham's in here and he's on YouTube, he's done something very well because he's going to be entered in for our giveaway. maybe I'll have an opportunity to throw that back up on the screen again this week. But guys, if you're subscribing over on YouTube, we have a signed piece by a current Denver Bronco player that we're going to be sending your way. If you happen to be lucky enough to have your name pulled out of the hat, I guess is the best way to put it. So, more details on that to come. We talked about it a little bit ago, but Rex is coming in saying Rex's comments after the game were interesting, laugh out loud. Want to get to this one, Kurt, as well. Even though Russ fumbles, it's going to happen. We're going to turn the ball over. You know what? Defense, stop them. Horrible. D-Rock coming in here. D-Rock's a new name, saying, hey, fellas, first time here. Well, I guess I should have read the comment. Thanks, D-Rock. Appreciate you being here. Always love seeing new faces. David Slade, he's going to be this way. Mr. David Slade gracing our show. Appreciate you. But I know one thing about David Slade. He does not give any QB the benefit of the doubt, especially if they're probably getting paid $245 million in their contracts. So he's saying stop making excuses for Russ. One last one, and then I'll get back to me and you guys, or the rest of us. Matt Staffiero's coming in saying, if I'm being honest, that the defense had their flaws. We can't negate the offense either. From play call to execution, they abandoned the run game in the second half. Russ looked more panicked. Offensive line struggled. The wheels completely fell off. I would agree. I mean, that's a great assessment, Matt, and I can't disagree with most of what you said there. One thing that I thought of, and this is something that Albert said before the season even started, he said, the reason this defense can be a top 5 defense, a top 10, top 7, I think he even said top 7, I think is what he kept quoting, top 7 defense. He said the reason they can be a top 7 defense is because this offense is going to produce, and it's going to allow them to get the rest they need so that they're not consistently on the field. And I couldn't help to think about that comment also when it came to this, the way this game went down. Yes, the defense has issues. Yes, VJ's defense was VJ's defense once again. We've seen it in 2017. We saw it last game. We saw it this game. It's predictable. It doesn't get there on blitzes. You get exposed on the back end a lot of times. I feel like it's a big replay. Things have got to change. Russ has got to change. I think that Russ's decision-making in the second half is not good. I think, similarly, Sean Payton's decision-making in the second half isn't very good. There's a lot of things that just seems to be falling apart, and being outcoached in the second half is certainly what I see. Just being straight out outcoached. I did want to get to some more comments, but first, I got to get to something that we talked about in the chat before, because it's something that's been weighing heavy on one of our our host chests. It's not me. It'll be really easy once I throw this up on the screen, and here it goes. It's time for Judge Jody. I appreciate you donning the orange robe this evening with the hoodie and gracing our presence. Looks fantastic, like I said before. Coming in here, and I thought he had a great bone to pick and a great ruling to bring down on the Denver Broncos, maybe on Sean Payton, about where this team is after 0-2 and kind of where we expected them to be. So, Jody, take it away, my friend. I'm going to give you the big screen.
I'm going to go on a little rant here. Peyton was hired to clean some things up here, and although things have gotten better, question I have, one of the questions I have for this chat is, we went out and we were told all off season we are going to be run first. We went out and right away signed Mike McGlinchey, Ben Powers, Chris Manhertz. On draft day, traded for Adam Troutman. All guys that run first, not explosive type guys. Everyone knew. When we needed a right tackle, we chose McGlinchey over Jawan Taylor, who was much better in pass pro, less of a blocker. McGlinchey, exact opposite. Second half yesterday, Russ had 8 passes in the first half, 6 for 8. He finished the game 39 attempts. We didn't run the ball at all in the second half. We don't help Russ. We all know Russ has his flaws, but we do nothing to help Russ. If we're going to throw the ball 39 times, we're going to lose a lot of games. We have, like Peyton said, punting was okay. Then run the ball and punt. You didn't try to do any of that. You want to go out there and throw the ball every play. And we've seen Mike McGlinchey get exposed because of it. So that's a big beef I have. Run the ball. You went out and got, if you were going to pass first, so be it. Then go get different set of players. You got all these players that were run first, and you don't run the ball. You've been pass first both games, and I think that's a big problem. Russ has never been good when he throws the ball this amount of times. Never. Yes, he had beast mode in Seattle, but he has beast mode light here in Javonte Williams. He has 3 running backs here that can do the job. Talking those 3 running backs, you have Jaleel McLaughlin. In 2 games, he's had 5 plays on offense. 3 the first game, 2 last game. That's ridiculous. He's an explosive player. 1 touch in the first half, touchdown. You've got to design plays to get him the ball, and it's that simple. You've got to pound the rock. That's what this team's set up for. 2, Marvin Mims, big play, wide receiver, 2 big plays in the first half, 16 snaps the whole game. Cortland Sutton, who basically does nothing the whole game, 59 snaps. That's ridiculous. Cortland Sutton is your worst wide receiver in 2 games, in my opinion. But you playing him for what reason? He doesn't go out there and block. He's not getting the ball in pass routes. Then to Russ.
For a second, that was Cortland Sutton. I just wanted everyone to know that was Cortland Sutton.
Cortland Sutton.
About. Yep. You broke up for just a moment. Just wanted to make sure everyone heard.
Then to this D. Well, let me go. So Peyton, that's 100% on Peyton. He says we got to run on script and all this type of stuff. Then commit to the run and do exactly what you did in the first half, and you won't have these woes in the second half. Now to the D. Vance Joseph, I think, has been garbage this whole season. But a lot of this is on players. And one play that sticks out to me in particular is, and they highlighted it right out during the game, Alex Singleton fills a hole right behind him. The same Basby fills the same hole. I will give Basby a little break because he was playing safety, might not know what to do, but Singleton needs to know some of that. They let their running back go off in the second half. We don't get any big time stops. Where's Randy Gregory? 2 of the sacks he had yesterday are their quarterback Sam Howell holding the ball way too long, and he comes up from behind. I mean, we didn't get massive pressure. We had one play where Cooper had that strip fumble that we got instant pressure. We haven't had that all year.
Benito had one. Benito on that.
Benito did.
Yeah.
No, we run zone all the time. Everyone said Davari Mathis is a man guy. It can't get any worse than what he's doing now. So let him do what he does best. Get in man. Back to Peyton. You knew you were light at safety, and you knew that you were one big shot away of Kareem Jackson being out of this game again. And you don't dress JL Skinner. You don't even dress a full. You only have 52, not a 53. What? I mean, JL Skinner is a big one for me. If for nothing else, depth, and he's practiced there. I mean, the way Kareem Jackson is going, you're one one shot away, one big hit. So that's on Peyton. Now to
Also,
Russ.
can I just say
Oh,
real
sorry.
quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd also say that Riley Moss was another one that we could have put in there just to fill a 53. It's not like we were really super impressed with our cornerback play after 1 week. But go on, man. That's
I'm
just
not
my
so
2
big
cents.
on Riley Moss because he's coming off this injury.
I
even
get
though
that.
he
So
did
is JL Skinner.
practice, right? Even though he did practice, but JL Skinner did play in preseason and stuff. Riley Moss didn't.
Yeah,
And
fair enough.
Even
I'll
though
let
he
you continue
had
on, bud.
even though he was full 2 games or 2 practices Thursday, Friday, he may not be ready yet. So I'm okay with that one. Now to Russ. I don't know. I'm a big defender of Russ, but I have not seen the fire from Russ like that fumble, or when we're down 7, or that last drive where we kicked the field goal. There's no urgency. There's no hop on my back. I'm taking you guys. I haven't seen that from Russ, and that needs to come back. I know Russ is balling. He had I don't remember the exact numbers.
308
yards, right, of the total yards. So Russ is doing what he can, but you've got to set Russ up. He is not a Drew Brees, throw the ball 40 times a game quarterback. And you knew this. You knew this before you paid him. So now to say, well, then you shouldn't have paid him. He got paid off of past performances and different stuff. So, right. That is Russ, but that is also Peyton thinking we're going to throw the ball. He had 8 passes. We threw the ball 31 times in the second. 31 times. That's not a winning formula.
Correct. Stats don't tell everything.
Russ, you got to get the play, and you can see it. The late substitution, that's on Peyton. But when he's down in there and you can see that he's having trouble getting plays out there in the huddle for a long time, that's on Russ. If they say go to the wristband, he had a wristband on. So Russ has got to figure that out. There's between the both of them, they got to figure that out. Russ has got to trust the pocket, because on that last play, he was not under pressure right away, and Jerry Jeudy was wide ass open if he let that play develop across the middle, and Peyton called it out. You set the play up. That is the first read, and he locks it on Sutton. You can call pass. You can say I was pass interference, but I am on the other side of don't leave it in the ref's hands. He's got to see that and I'll call Peyton a little bit. If you know Russ is drifting to the right every play, go ahead and say to the opposite side. You can run that same play, run it to where he drifts to the right. But there's a whole lot of things that's got to change. It's not good enough right now. Peyton has got to be sharper. Peyton has got to trust other guys. He cannot be loyal to a fault to certain guys. Nims has got to play. McLaughlin's got to play. You've got to, whoever it is, you've got to find production from a tight end, or move Sutton there, move little Jordan Humphreys into that role. You've got to get something there, and you have got to commit to the run. And instead of being 70-30 pass, you need to be like 70-60-40 run. That's when Russ is at his best. And whatever, I said it earlier today, if you got to dumb some stuff down for Russ, because whatever, you cannot just let this collapse and whatever, because you still are going to win some games. You're not, in my opinion, going to be in the running for Caleb Williams. You're going to be in that Quinn Ewers, Michael Penix type range. Love both those quarterbacks, but Penix is one that he's a lefty, and you want Mike McGlinchey blocking his blind side. I don't know that I like that. So there's some stuff that has to change. This can work, but Peyton has got to kind of meet in the middle a little bit and commit to some stuff that Russ works. It can't all be the other way around. Russ has to commit to everything Peyton wants. There's got to be some middle ground.
Fair enough. Albert, I don't know if you've ever been in front of a judge or if you ever watched the show, or if you've seen anybody on the wrong end of the stick.
I've been in front of a traffic judge. Does that count?
Okay. Been in front of a traffic judge. Maybe traffic judge is usually not laying down the law quite too hard, but every now and then you get that plaintiff in that the judge just is going to say, you know what? I'm going to let you have it. I'm going to set you straight. I'm going to let you everything you know what you've done wrong up until this point and what you need to be doing in the future. Judge Jody was that guy, man. He was laying down the law. He was telling the Broncos exactly what they needed. And so are a lot of our fans. I do want to get to a few comments. Appreciate that, Judge. I think, hey, I'll give you kudos. As you said, you're a big Russ supporter. That being said, Russ needs to step up. That was one thing that you said as well. And I appreciate that, man. It takes big guys to come in here and say, hey, even my guy, even the guy I go to bat for, I need to call him out just a little bit. But like I said, I want to get to the chat because you guys are blowing it up in here. And I might have to hit a few of these that are easy for me if you're over on YouTube or if you've given Facebook your permissions. I'm going to hit those guys first. We might try to go back and get a few more, but I got to get caught up a little bit. Coming in here first, David Slade coming in here saying blow an 18-point lead. Don't blame it on the refs. And these are comments I 100% agree with. Sis coming in as well saying blew an 18-point lead. Enough said. Hey, man, I mean, you can't blow an 18-point lead and blow it completely or put it completely on the refs. You can't say that it was this, that, or the other. It wasn't completely a lopsided call, and I apologize because it sounds like my dog downstairs is going nuts if anybody's hearing that in the background. Apologize. But that being said, hey, we got to get on the better end of the stick on some of these calls. I mean, that pass interference call in the end zone was called out across all national media outlets as far as how horrific that is. Seems like we're on the short end of the stick on some of those calls. That's the one I have an issue with. That should have put us into overtime. It doesn't mean that we didn't blow an 18-point lead in order to get to that spot, but golly, give us a chance when it's obviously that bad right off the bat. Somebody just coming in right behind on Facebook saying the same thing. Horrible call. No call on that 2-point conversion. What are your thoughts on that? I just gave you my thoughts on that. David Slade coming in when I was talking about those short fields, and he's saying that's a problem for most defenses. I like this one. D-Rock coming in here saying, shout out Bowles and Cush. We're not talking about them, and that's absolutely true, man.
I'll talk about Cush because he was getting wrecked when DeJuan Payne in that one series just was blowing it up. That's right up the middle, and
I will give you that. One series against one of the most elite defensive linemen out there, and quite honestly, from where Cush came in and the expectation of maybe a 7th rounder coming in and knocking him out of the starting position, which was talked about in preseason, overall, we haven't talked too much about Bowles and Cush through the first 2 games.
Oh, my bigger problem is the 2 acquisitions you've got.
100%.
Those have been your 2 worst, in my opinion, been your worst. McGlinchey's probably been your worst lineman.
Yeah, I would have a hard argument not to talk to agree with you there. Albert, what are your thoughts, man, on this offensive line? I know that you had guys Cushenberry was a guy that you said was our weakest link. You said that time and time again. How do you feel about his performance? How do you feel about this offensive line in general?
Yeah, I agree that Mike McGlinchey is right now, and he should have been the best one of the entire offensive line. I think he is right the weakest. But again, that also has to do with what are we playing? Are we playing a pass offense or are we going to be a rushing offense?
Mm-hmm.
And therein lies the problem. If you have 39 passes in one half and you only run the ball 3 times, that doesn't just work for Mike McGlinchey because he is not a pass defender.
Yeah, it's certainly not his strength, and it's not
And
Ben Power's strength either. And
look
Quinn
at San
Miners, I would
Francisco.
say, would be a better run blocker than he is a pass blocker. You know,
We might as well have kept Reisner if we wanted to do this.
well, I can't do that now. He's off to the northern land and going to be yelling "Skol" because he got signed.
But look at San Francisco. San Francisco knew what they had in
they had.
McGlinchey, and San Francisco is a lot of short, quick passes and stuff. He's in pass pro, and they let him walk, knowing that he's a better run guy than pass, and they're more of a pass first team. So, I mean, and that where I go back to Peyton. Jawan Taylor was out there, Orlando Brown was out there, Mike McGlinchey was out there, probably the top 3 tackles out there, and you went and picked a run first type tackle, which I'm fine with if you're going to run the ball, but run the ball. You
100%.
Yes, he's played poorly, but you've done nothing to help him. You don't give it. Where's Chris Manhertz, this blocking tight end that's supposed to be? Why isn't he out there helping?
Yeah, he's been non-existent. For the
help,
most part,
help your guys.
Very few snap counts in comparison to what I really expected from Chris.
Talking
Manhertz.
this, I have a question for the chat. Do you think this is all to expose weaknesses or faults or whatever you want to call them?
No.
Say we're going to move on from Russ?
I'm gonna take the tinfoil hat off right now because, quite honestly, it's not possible to move on from Russ. We're looking at an $80 million cap hit if we just decide to get rid of him after this year. It's just not possible. We can't take that hit. We would have to sell off everybody on this team and still have a mediocre team at the end of it. Doesn't make sense. That's my tinfoil hat on and off. Go ahead, Albert.
Yeah, and I know David is not going to be agreeing with it, but Michael Roquet already says it at the bottom. Russell Wilson is not the problem. And Russell Wilson has his weaknesses, of course. But if the coach is not scheming to the strength of the quarterback, and what is the strength of Russell's quarterback? Have a run-first team, offense first, and passing secondary. And we didn't see that happen last year much, and we don't see it happen so far. And
Okay,
I think
I got a question. I'm going to get a question to you first on this, and then I'll bring it back to Jody if we got a little bit of time on this too. What about the fact that on one of the largest plays in this entire game, a touchdown to Marvin Mims, that wasn't the play. That wasn't the play called. That was the play that Russell Wilson checked into. So why can't Russell Wilson check into a better play in the second half? How come we have so much issue as a first half team to begin with? If Russell doesn't want to throw it, if he's not seeing where throwing's an option in the second half, why can't he check into a run play?
And probably because Sean Payton doesn't let him.
Well, let him. No, we already know he let him because he let him do it in the first half.
I don't think it's a let him. I think it is. If you have the wide receiver personnel out there, that play was different because it was one read and you could see it was a run option. But if he's got guys out there that aren't set up to block and then you check into the run, then what? I mean, you have blocking tight end, passing tight end. You don't have an all around like a Travis Kelce who, when you ask him to go block, he can go out and run routes. You don't have that guy.
Okay,
so
well then
continue going out and running routes.
Just continue to pass the ball, even though that's not going to be
no.
any good.
What I'm saying is you've got to pay. When I'm saying commit to the run, he has to call run first plays and set that up.
Okay,
then
I get a little.
That's my thing.
And
I would just like to see him check at least once.
And I don't like the fact that he is not get under center more.
And
get out of the shotgun.
Here's the other thing. Russell made a mistake in the second half of the second quarter. Do you think he got yelled at because of that by Sean Payton? And then said,
Which
With
second
the-
half of the fumble? Do you think he got
The
yelled at?
yeah. Hey,
I'm not
Russ.
sure.
So he might have gotten yelled at, and Russ, you're gonna do what I'm telling you to do. That something like that might have happened. We don't know that, but we saw a different Russ in the second half than in the first half.
In 2 games, though. In 2 games. All right. I'm going to hit the
But in
chat,
those 2
guys,
games,
really,
we
really
don't
quick. We
run the
need to
ball
get
in the
caught up on the
second
chat.
half.
Boy, every time I do this, and I get a little bit thrown off on where I'm at. So, Ernie Mays is jumping in here and saying, "Go Broncos only." Hello, man, and we love Ernie Mays, so thank you very much, Ernie, for jumping in here. David Slade answering a question from a little bit earlier, saying, "No one is safe if you're selling." I can tell you, probably the only person of really good value, if you were looking to actually be plus, is going to be trading PS2. Beyond that, you don't have a whole lot of people that are playing above their contracts. You have Justin Simmons, who's the highest paid
That's the guy
safety,
you're going to sell off. That's the number
but
one.
he's the
sell-off guy.
highest paid safety in the league. So how much more are you going to get for him?
But I think if you can give solid two twos, you got 2 2s for Vaughn.
2 2s
I
for
think
Vaughn. Yeah, pass
I think
rushers
if you can
are
go-
much more.
They are,
value
but I think if you can go
than
get
you'll ever
a-
get for safety,
If you get a 3,
probably a
if you're
third
going to
round
sell
pick.
this
and-
whole, if you're going to sell everything off, and someone offers you a 2 or a 3, goodbye.
there you go.
Because he's
Okay,
not game
third round.
changing. He's not turning. He's not change. What has he done in 2 weeks? Yet, I mean, he has not changed anything. I mean, everyone wanted to say, "Oh, look how much better Russ was in camp when he was out there." Why is he making those plays now?
Oh, by the way, where was Drew Sanders? I didn't see him at all.
Yeah, minimal snap counts,
See-
and we're starting to hear the fire come underneath this. Whether it be a Marvin Mims, whether it be a Drew Sanders, as Jody talked about, dressing 52 rather than 53. Actually, I think it was Albert that actually brought that up. I can't remember which now, but all of these things are starting to pile up a little bit on Sean Payton. I wanted to pile on with Roy here, and he says, in my objective opinion, that fumble should have, may or may not have called. It was questionable at best, since at the time Russ was a runner. Oh, interesting take. D-Rock coming in here and saying, "I'm still stunned Javonte doesn't wear a knee brace." Yeah, I'm stunned as well, especially the way he's running when he gets the ball.
See, talking that
First of all-
fumble, I have no problem. Russ is running and he dove and he fumbled. That's an effort play. My problem with Russ is whether he thought he was down or not, there was nothing. There was no fire to try to get the ball, and I don't agree with it, but I will give a pass if he thought he was going to get hurt or whatever, fine. But there was
Yeah.
nothing on the sidelines like, damn it, I messed up and let's get it. None of that. There was none of that. He just kind
There's
of
no
went
fire or
over.
passion.
No
Yep,
fire.
you
Where
talked
is
about
that?
it.
Where is that?
Yep. Hey, when you were talking about that earlier, him driving in the last 3 minutes of the game, the hurry up, the passion, hey, we need to get up here, go, go, go. I didn't see that. And that's something that you want to see, especially directed out of your quarterback, and shows a little bit more of that passion. David Slade saying the refs were not against the Broncos. I'm not saying they were against the
Oh, I
Broncos.
agree with that.
But at the same time, I haven't seen a more horrific call to end a game in quite some time, is that non-call on that 2-point conversion.
See, and my
it's just
bigger
terrible.
problem with
It's just bad.
My bigger problem with that play is if Russ would have just held the ball a little bit longer in the pocket, Jerry Jeudy was coming wide ass open and he was going to be there. And if Russ just runs, and this is coming from a rush defender, if he just reads the right route and the right play,
Yep.
it just brings me right back to the Colts game last year when he locked in on Sutton and he had Hamler right across the middle, wide open.
Yep.
Stop locking in on Sutton. Sutton has done nothing for you in 2 years. Why he locks in on Sutton at certain points of the game, I don't understand.
Yeah, at least Jeudy didn't throw his helmet to the ground like we saw KJ Hamler do in that game. I'm gonna just to get to one or two more. I'm gonna get back to Albert on a thought or two as well. This is Roger coming in and saying trade Sutton and Simmons. I think they might bring us. I'm sorry, bring us more draft picks. Sutton, with an $18 million contract next year, is not playing up to it, and we will be lucky if someone would be willing to trade us straight up and get us out of our dead cap at that point.
Yeah, you're almost going to have to eat the contract and trade him. And
Yeah. You're hoping they throw you $3 million in a late round draft pick. So
yeah,
that
just
when
give me
you
a
cut
7.
him- Yep. Want to talk about this from Matt, and then I'm going to hit Albert. Exactly this in all three phases of the game issue, and it could quite possibly fall down to the lack of overall talent on this roster. Albert, there has been blame all over the place. I put a post out there on Rocky Mountain Sports Network that said, who do we blame this loss on? Question mark. And boy, it got a lot of reactions, as you can quite imagine, and there's quite a few culprits. I'm not going to go over the culprits for you that were named out necessarily right off the bat. I want to get your opinion. Again, all three phases of the game. Is this a coaching issue? Is this a player issue? Is it a lack of talent on this team issue, which is more of a GM issue? If you were to put this all on one portion, one offense, defense, player, coach, coaching staff, front office, where are you going to put this and why? Go ahead and take a moment.
I think we have a really good roster. With the players that we have, we could be definitely a top 10 team. We're top 15 offense, top 5 defense with the players we have. We could be like that. But the biggest culprit is if there is not the coaching, and I'm going to blame it on the coaching this time. If the coaches cannot adapt to what the other teams are doing, then we have a problem. We saw it. The Commanders did it. They adjusted and they got the better out of us. We saw it with the Raiders. They adjusted and got the better out of us. So if Sean Payton can be outcoached, I don't know what to say. And then that is what happened. And yeah, does our offense and defense make errors? Absolutely. Memphis was horrendous. But if you don't put him in the right spot, what he needs to do, if you try to ask a soccer player to ride the Tour de France, it's not going to happen.
Put him in the right spot, huh?
You have to put the right man in the right spot, and that is not, or put the right player behind the ball, and that is what we're not seeing. We're all thinking that we are going to be a run first team, and we have been passing first.
Yeah.
And so where does that come from? That's my question.
Yeah, has to come from the coaching. Has to be brought to the forefront. Has to be demanded. Like you said, if Sean Payton did have a conversation with Russ, said, "Hey, listen to me. We're running it exactly how we're going to be running it," or if he didn't, at some point he should have maybe he should have called Russ over before the start of the fourth quarter and said, "Hey, we need to run the ball. We are going to run the ball." At some point, it does become a coach's decision. Even if there's a QB out there that's consistently putting you into a different play, you got his ear. Don't change this play, man. We've got to get the run game going. It is overall his option when it comes down to the very end. I'm just going to run through a ton of comments really quick, guys, because you guys have been 100% fantastic. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I know Albert's the same way. I know Jody's the same way. You guys have been such great supporters of our show, and it's only been ratcheting up as the season's been moving along and getting bigger and getting more exciting, whether it be wins or losses. So appreciate you all a ton. David Slay coming in here and saying teams will sell out to stop the run and dare us to beat them. We need that, in my opinion, Dave. At some point, that's going to open things up.
But Russ can do that, but you have got to set Russ up. You can't just say, "Hey, go play Drew Brees football." That's not Russ.
Yeah, there's got to be balance, and at some point, if they're just going to start lining up and daring Russ to throw, that's a good position for us to be in. That's the position we want to be in. At some point, that's where we need to be. That's not what we saw from most of these defenses.
And here's another thing with the Saints. What they had 2 QBs.
Yep, we
It was
talked
not
about
just it was not just Drew Brees. It was also whatever his name was.
that. Taysom Hill would come in there from
Taysom
time to time and be
for
a
the
running.
play action and the other stuff.
Yeah.
And
The only thing I would say about that is that was very, very predictable, and I'm glad that we got it all in one quarterback. But that was ugly in my opinion. I never liked what they had.
One
going
thing
on.
I think that's got to change with Russ is, and Kurt Warner broke it down. There were some plays last week that he was like, "Russ, step into the pocket and rip the ball. This guy is wide open. Don't." And Russ has got to get out of this. Russ is like, last year is still in his mind a little bit. If I fail, if I do this, if I mess up,
okay, so here's
whatever.
my
He's got to get that out of his head, because there was one play that this was about a 15. Go ahead.
Here's my counter question: how tall is Kurt Wagner?
I don't care.
Oh, I'm not even.
Well, I do. If you have a 5'10" quarterback or a 6'3" quarterback, the field is.
But Russ isn't shotgunning this play, and Kurt Warner. This is like a 15-yard out. If Russ steps in the pocket instead of drifts and rips the ball, this guy is wide open. In NFL, this guy is like, whoever it was like 4 yards wide open, and Russ can make that throw if he rips the ball. But Russ is, you can see it's still in his mind from last year.
No, you don't have to see the field.
I don't think it's still in Russ's mind from last year that if he goes out and he throws 2 bad picks or something, that he is just going to get scrutinized. And how on eggshells is he playing? He cannot play like that. If he goes out there and rips that ball, he can make that throw. He's made that throw.
Yeah, agreed. And this is my counter to Albert. As a $250 million quarterback, you should have timing and rhythm and know the plays and know where your guys are going to be at within the play. It's just the way that it is. It's the whole reason that they're like, hey, he thought he was going to cut in and he ended up cutting out. That was a miscommunication, because that quarterback has already released the ball. You don't have to see where that guy's going to be. You need to know where that guy's going to be. You should be able to read the defense and say, that guy has a good opportunity of being open. And that's what Kurt Warner is pointing out, and that's what Jody is talking about. Sometimes you just got to hang in there. You got to know where your guys are going to be at. And in that particular play that Jody's talking about, the C opened up. You could see right down the middle of the field. He should have been able to rip it. Instead, he's peeling out. And I hate to say it, but there's plenty of blame to go around, including Russell Wilson. It can't just be on coaching.
If that isn't going to get any better, then Peyton has to, in my opinion, he's got to suck up his pride and say, fine, then I have to call plays that I roll Russ out, and like what he did in Seattle. He works one side of the field and does whatever. Then Peyton has to change some stuff up, because this isn't you're not going to go pluck Drew Brees or someone like that off the streets if it continues to go like this. So you've got to make some changes. Do like and I'm the OC in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson a couple years ago. He changed his whole stuff up to run what made Lamar comfortable.
Yeah.
And stuff. Peyton is a smart enough coach. He knows that. He's got to do that. We've seen 0 bootlegs. We've seen 0 rollouts. I know that's not in his playbook, but maybe he needs to add some of that.
Bam. Take that, Sean Payton. We're gonna have to wrap up our show. We're already a little past an hour. It's been fantastic. I'm just gonna hit, like I said, some of these comments. Please let me get through them. I just want to recognize some of our great fans that we have out here. So Kenny's coming in here and saying, Wits and Wagers. Again, Kenny is with the K&K Sports Show. One of our hosts went 10-0 with their picks. Not too many shows can say that. Come check us out for betting tips. So there you go. I appreciate that a ton, and we appreciate Kenny. Want to get into Trevor again. He's just saying both Mike McGlinchey and Garrett Bowles have the lowest rated offensive grades on the Broncos roster, according to Pro Football Focus, offensive line. is still an issue, especially at tackle. Definitely saw that, and I think most of us can see it with our eyes with Mike McGlinchey. Sometimes Pro Football Focus scores aren't going to be 100%, but
Yeah,
I
take
will.
PFF with a grain of salt.
Sometimes you got to, well, I would say this. You got to take the grades, you got to take stats, you got to take all of this, but you also got to take what your eyes see. Stats can lie, PFF numbers can lie. They do a fantastic job. They do, I mean, from a stat perspective, they compile a ton of data. You may not always agree with their overall score when that pumps it out. Just put your eyes to it. I think Bowles has been outperforming comparatively where he's at last year. Could still improve, still having issues on the edge. But yeah, again,
Well, you haven't heard holding Bulls. You haven't heard that a bunch, so
haven't heard it a bunch. A defense is reactionary and will tire out quicker. The offense is not keeping off the field. 4 crucial series. Russ fumble, 3 and out, 3 and out. Russ throws an interception. For those 4 consecutive 4 series, that was Mr. David Slade just coming in here again. Guys, I apologize. I'm not going to be able to get to everybody as we're rolling it up, and I want to get to those that I know are that I can see are our fans. Go over to YouTube, share, subscribe, like, get your notifications going, and like I said, we got a bonus for you as well. Graham's coming in here, an 0-2 start really pushes our playoff chances in the wrong direction. Great opportunity for me to do a little plug on my own. Right at the top of the chat. Again, I'll probably drop these at the bottom of the chat as well, guys. I wrote a little article, talked about our chances of making the playoffs. Believe it or not, I think they're actually there's a path, guys. There's a path at 0-2 to the playoffs. Don't believe me? Go check out the article. I lay it all out there, man. I lay out how we're going to get there. Just in the next 3 games to get us in contention. See where we can go from there. We can be in contention within the next 3 games if things play out just right.
The path is only 2 teams have won games in the AFC West.
There you go. That's part of it. That's
no one
part
has
of it.
Not one team in the AFC West has looked good.
There you go, bud. Stealing a little bit of my thunder, but that's okay, man. That's okay. Maybe Jody read my article, and that's why he's so knowledgeable. That's it.
Maybe.
I got it. Graham's coming in here and saying, if Russ was the problem, then why have we been seeing big improvements from him this year? Last year was awful. Significant improvement, in my opinion. Albert, I know that you've been a big supporter. I'll let you talk on that for just a second. If Russ is the problem, then why have we been seeing pretty big improvements? How do you feel on that, man? I know that you tonight have been the biggest supporter. I usually rely on Jody to be the biggest supporter of us. So talk about it a little bit. The improvements that you've seen from Russ over last year, things that we can see.
Yeah, he is faster. He is quicker with the ball out. He is more reserved, more decisive. That's what. And yeah, we have seen it. Oh, let's not forget it. Who has scored more points per drive than any other team in the NFL right now?
Ooh,
Who is that?
Denver Broncos.
That would be the Denver Broncos. And why is that? Well, 3 touchdowns in 3 drives, the first 3 drives. That is not just, yeah, I know it is not just Russ, but he did make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And the play calling was correct, and whatever happened, magic happened. It happened. And I think that is part of what Russ can do. And yeah, he has improved. He is much fitter. He's much slimmer. And yeah, I have seen way much more progress than what we have seen. The last 2 games already summed up what Russ did the entire year last year.
I would take that a little bit different direction. You cannot compare. Russ whatever. Last year was horrible. And let's say he's playing better and you're comparing it to last year. That doesn't mean he's playing where he needs to be. He's not playing Russ Seattle ball. So I don't like that. I don't like comparing anything to last year because last year was so god awful. How can you play any worse? Or how can anyone play any worse than last year? So anything that looks better is going to be a much improved. I need to see Russ from 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Not so much to play, but I need to see some of that passion and fire and even like we seen last year at times, like when he put this team on their back and drove them down against San Francisco to get that touchdown, he was fiery out there and doing things we have not seen that from Russ. And I don't. He's in the back, in my opinion, in the back of his mind, he still has last year on his mind and is scared. If I go out and I have a horrible game, am I on? How thin of ice am I on? And he can't play like that.
I agree. You can't play like that as a player in general. If that's the mindset that he has, got to get rid of it. Man, you can't go out there playing scared for your job, scared for your position. All you can do is go out there and put your best you possibly can on the field any given Sunday.
So do you think that might be part of the scheming as well? Because he knows what play is going to get called. And, it's going to be a pass again. I have to rely on the offensive line. Do you think that might be part of it too?
I do, and I think Russ now, I think he's earned enough cachet. He needs to go to Peyton and say, will Russ do this? Because let Russ cook last year. All the reports are he wanted to throw more. Will Russ do this? I don't know. But what he needs to do is say, we've got to run the ball more. You have to run the football more. And that's when I'm at my best. Whether Russ wants to admit that or not, that's when he was at his best.
Agreed. I want to get back to the chat, guys. Kenny's coming in here. Kenny Kirkpatrick. He switched over to YouTube saying wanted to throw you some YouTube love. And I appreciate that, Kenny. And Kenny's now entered, and I'll talk about that in a second. He says, it's simple, in my opinion. Winning is contagious, and losing is as well. And that leads me right into a Facebook comment that I would know because it says, yo to my bro, that's my sister Leanna, and the rest of the crew. Broncos are going to turn this around. Mindset is where it's at. Kind of speaking into that contagiousness. Got to get the right mindset, much like even maybe Jody was alluding to, maybe a little bit more fire from what we, from more than what we've seen from Russell Wilson to this point. Got 4 reasons from Roy Osborne, 4 reasons why we are failing, pretty much all on the defense, front personnel, coaching, overall talent, execution, not just one person. This one coming in from, I'm trying to get all of this lined up, but I'm getting different lineup than the one I'm seeing in my feed over here. So I'll get a few more. Albert and Michelle Knoppers, thank you all for your comments. Keep it up. We love this. We absolutely do. And Michelle, we love you for coming in here and supporting us as well. This is about the truth. Kenny, Keith, you guys need to have a Broncos therapy show. If we get another loss, we might just have to consider it. And that's certainly not out of the question. Like this Facebook comment as well, saying AFC West is up in the air. Again, check out that article I put out on Rocky Mountain Sports Network. It's at the very top of the page. I talk about a little bit of that as well. This one is from Michael Ronquillo. He says, stop bringing up Russell Wilson's Seattle Seahawks days. It's old news. He's a Denver Bronco. And there's a certain point to that. Hey, we're in year 2, guys. Those days are behind us. That coaching, those teammates, it's all different staff. It's a new head coach. There's very little that we can really equate to what he had in Seattle to what we have here. We can equate more of what Sean Payton had in New Orleans than we can equate to what Russell Wilson had in Seattle as far as that's concerned. Sis coming in here and saying it's a team game and that he agrees with Mike, and I'll see if I can find, he's talking about Michael Ronquillo, about maybe, again, not bringing up those Seahawk days. So it needs to be a complete collaboration between Sean Payton and Russell Wilson if this is going to work. It needs to be a collaboration between head coach, offensive coordinator, maybe that's the same real position, and the defensive coordinator to make sure you're game planning for the entire game on both sides of the ball. Maybe your special teams coordinator comes into that meeting as well. But it is a team sport. It is a team game. It is the fact that winning is contagious. It is about having the right mindset and making sure you have that fire that you need. I've gotten pretty much caught up on the comments, and I'm going to get to the last one that just jumped in. It says the communication between Russ and Peyton has been an issue too. I hope it gets solved sooner than later. It's important for the QB and the head coach to be on the same page. And that probably leads me right into this. Jody, we're already really long, so I don't want to put up the clock, but maybe in 60 seconds or less, maybe we can round out what we could expect in Miami, what we need to do in order to get a win, and maybe if we have a shot at that happening. Like I said, Jody, I'll give you first stab at this. Give us a little bit of optimism, buddy. Give us what you think, and I'm hoping for a win. I'm really hoping for a win. Go ahead, bud. Oh, but you're muted, though. So, man,
I'll make it quick.
I
I want to see us commit to the run. One, I want to see the defense play more sharp, make tackles, wrap up. Randy Gregory, please earn your $70 million contract. You've done nothing in a year and a half now. And then optimism. I'm hoping, and I kind of have a feeling that we're going to see a game like we did a couple years ago in Dallas when Denver went in there and just kind of lit them up and dominated a playoff team. And I think that is something that can turn this team around. It needs to happen. This is a statement win, show that these were two fluke losses, and like everyone said, it's going to take time to mesh and let it start coming together. There is enough talent on this team that you can win. So
there is enough talent on this team. Go ahead, bud.
Score-wise, I don't really have a score. I'm going to say Denver, though, pulls an upset like they did in Dallas a few years ago and kind of dominates the game. I think there is some behind-the-scenes stuff of some come-to-Jesus moments when in some meetings, and I think some stuff is going to change, especially from your leaders your captains who have really done nothing. Simmons, McGlinchey, Cortland Sutton, those are three captains who have really done nothing and played average to below average football so far.
Fair enough, man. A lot of things got to come together. It's a possibility. Not going to put a score on it, but things come together right. Maybe pulling off that big upset, similar to what we saw just a year ago with Dallas. I would like a win like that. That was fantastic. That was a win in our sails, and that's quite honestly where we need to be. I did flash up one comment. It was from Roger saying, thanks for a great show. Look forward to the next one. Go Broncos every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. And then we've been doing a little bit of pregame as well, so watch for that as well. See if that's on par. And then Trevor coming in here and saying, great show. Love interacting with you all, as always. Go Broncos. Albert, Miami's going to be tough. It's not going to be an easy. They're 2-0. We're 0-2. We travel all the way to the East Coast on this one. Never an easy task. You are the Mr. Optimism, though. Give us that optimistic look and tell us how we're going to get a win in Miami this next Sunday.
So I think it starts with the defense. The defense has to stop the offense of the Dolphins, of course. And one way to do is play the players that you have. Put them in play. And when they are doing well, keep them in the play. And not continually rotating the players out. If Benito is doing really well, give him extra snaps. If Cooper is doing really well, give him extra snaps. And get Sanders in, for Pete's sakes. Why did we draft him? To not play him? J.L. Skinner, if he's ready to go, let J.L. Skinner step up, because you cannot count on Kareem Jackson. He is a liability. And so that's the defense. And the offense, where are the 22 sets? Or where you have your two running backs and a fullback in the backfield? Put them in play. Start working on the run, and then take it from there. I think that is what needs to happen, and hopefully we will see more of that.
What I really like about that is, a few different things. One, on that defensive side of the ball, we do need to get better production. But on the offensive side, my goodness, let's line up. Let's, like you said, bring in those big sets. Let's try to play some big boy football. Let's try to dominate the time of possession. Let's try to, run out the clock. We all know what Tua and Tyreek Hill are capable of. We don't need to see them on the field multiple, gobs of time. We need to make it look more like that first game that we had against the Raiders, where each team only had 6 possessions. Might be our key to success. I didn't talk a whole lot on this. Right now, the key to this Denver Broncos team turning around, it's got to start with the coach. The coach, if he needs to walk down to that defensive coordinator and say, we're not doing this. Quite honestly, when I was getting ready for the show, a quote from my grandpa ran through my head. He used to say this quite often. He said, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, in my opinion, Sean Payton's been fooled twice by Vance Joseph and what he's been able to put on the field, especially in the second half. It's time for Sean Payton to get involved. He can't be fooled any longer. He needs to get this defense running right. Whether that means dictating a little more to Vance Joseph, that has to be the case.
Oh, this is already the third time, the last preseason game, that Sean Payton called out Vance Joseph on the field.
Yeah, we had that in the preseason, at the end of the preseason. Maybe we had it then. It needs to happen now, though. But it needs to happen now. We have it. We've went 2 games into the regular season. There has to be changes. There has to absolutely be changes on defense. Offensive side of the ball, I think you guys nailed it out of the park. We need to be more of a run-first team. We need to be committed to the run, or we at least need to not go away from it as much as we have, especially like we saw in this particular last game. Miami's going to be a tough battle, guys. It's not easy to go to the East Coast and play a game. It's going to start off a 2-game series where we're playing away. Next up will be the Chicago Bears. If we get this one in the bank, if there's any way that we can pull it out, whether it be blowout like Jody was saying, or whether it just happens to be a nail biter right down to the end, man, we need this win, guys. We get that. There's a chance. Go read the article. I talked about that. Michael Ronquillo coming in here and saying, great show, Keith, Jody, and Albert. Great to always have you, Michael, and appreciate you so much. Sis is coming in here as well saying, nice show, boys. We appreciate you a ton. Roger jumped in, showing love on YouTube as well. Thank you so much. And last one, Facebook user is Mr. Michael Ronquillo, and he says, defense must improve. Guys, this is what I was talking about. I'm going to do this just really quick, and then we'll go ahead and we'll get to some final thoughts and get out of here for an extra long show. As guys, you guys lit up the board and made it passionate, and we appreciate you. So this is what I got, guys. If you're a YouTube subscriber, that's why it says YouTube giveaway alert. Mr. Jonathan Harris was kind enough to stop by at training camp, sign off on a training camp flyer, gives you your whole roster breakdown. This is a 2022 flyer. I think I actually got Jonathan Harris 2023 as well, but this is a 2022, so it'll be the 2022 roster sheet with, again, Jonathan Harris' signature. This is only going to be for YouTube subscribers. So guys like Roger who jumped in there, guys like Kenny who jumped in there, guys like Graham who was in there as well, already entered. It's the only way you can do it. Go over to YouTube, check it out. All you have to do is Rocky Mountain Sports Network. You'll find us pretty easy. I'll see if I can throw up a banner here as we're getting our final thoughts in. But guys, love to give it away. I'll give the full criteria on what that is going to be. It's going to be based on how many subscribers we gain before I give that away, or we give that away. I shouldn't say I give that away. We give that away. But I want one of you guys to be super, super happy and walk away with this, like I said, signed piece of Broncos memorabilia. Keep it forever. Frame it on the wall. It'll be fun. All right, guys. Jody, why don't you start off with some final thoughts, man? We'll run over to Albert. Like I said, I'll try to throw up a bunch of stuff either in the chat or on banners, guys, while you guys are talking in the background. So feel free. Take a little bit of time. And, hey, bud, it's all you. Feel free.
Well, I'll just make it quick. commit to the run, make second half adjustments. Hopefully your leaders, McGlinchey, Sutton, Simmons, who have done nothing in the first 2 games, have a come to Jesus meeting with this team, and they play 4 quarters. Russ still has it. I know he does. He's proven it. And hopefully we can go in there and get a win like we did in Dallas a few years ago against a playoff team.
Yeah, man. Love everything you're saying, bud. It's time, man. If there's a time to kick it in, if it's a time for everything to come together, it's now. Now's when we need it. Love to see it. Love to see just an upset. You know, we went into these last couple of games being more favored in most people's opinions. It's time for an upset. Albert, give us some final thoughts. I just dropped in the link to Rocky Mountain Sports Network YouTube channel. Everyone that's trying to figure that out, want to check that out, want to be entered. And then next, guys, I'm going to be dropping Albert's article, and then on mine as well. So, Albert, while you're talking, I'll get that all lined up. Go right ahead, buddy.
Okay, so with next Sunday, if something is working, don't change it. Keep working with it, unless the opposing team does something different. Then start adjusting. We have seen twice changes in the second half, but that didn't work. So if it ain't fixed, don't break it. Don't fix it. If it broke, sorry. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
You
And
got it, bud.
I want to give a shout out to the following people.
Yes. Albert, I want to give a shout out to Albert because he's been keeping track of all of you that are jumping in the chats and that we want to give love to. And Albert's going to give you that love right now. Albert, go right ahead, bud.
We really appreciate you all, guys. Matt, Jeremy, Eddie, Danny, Roger, Trevor. Of course, my better 3/4, Michelle. And then Travis, Kurt, Kenny, Michael, Adam and Kayla, Danny, David, D-Rock, Graham, Ernie, and Liana. The big sis, or is it the little sis?
Big sis.
Yay. Thank
Anybody
you.
else? That's the wrap up? All right, bud.
Thank you for commenting, because you make our lives so much easier with comments.
I agree, man. It means a ton to us, guys. We're in here every single week, but the only reason we're in here is because of you.
Here's a new one, the Gritty Gang.
The Gritty Gang is in here. That's why I threw him up here. The Gritty Gang coming in here and saying the only way we win is by keeping that O off the field. Otherwise, it's going to be a long day. Like I said, might be one of those games that we want to see the the 6 possessions for each team, especially if it's much like, well, our second game where we go out and score on the first 3. That would be fantastic. That would be a great script for success, I guess is the best way to put it, guys. I'm not going to be long, guys. Like I said, I appreciate everyone, as Albert listed off, all of you guys that have joined in. We're part of the comments. Don't forget, jump on over. Be part of that YouTube community. Please, please, please. I would really appreciate it because I want to give you guys away. I want to give this away to one of you guys, one of our DBR fans. Again, that Jonathan Harris signed piece of training camp memorabilia. So check that out. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be a game that's much necessary. Like I said, I think there's a path to the playoffs, but it starts in Miami, and I would drop that article in there. I'm just going to get out of here by doing my due diligence and telling everyone, thank you for watching, listening to another great episode of the Denver Bronco Roundup. As always, we are presented to you by the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. If you're wanting fantastic coverage about all your Colorado sports teams, check out Rocky Mountain Sports Network for coverage on Avalanche, Broncos, Nuggets, and even the Colorado Rockies. You can find them on YouTube, Facebook, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Just search Rocky Mountain Sports Network. You'll be able to find them there. Also, DBR fans, we have an incredible, fantastic sponsor. Give them a props in our ads. I want to give them props right here on the podcast as well. It's Willow Seasonings and Blends. The barbecue season, like I said, isn't over. It's the best part. As you can tell, getting a little bit cooler up here in Montana. Got the sweatshirt on, much like Jody must be getting cooler in his neck of the woods. And that's my favorite time to stoke up the barbecue and get it going. It's just, like I said, it's just heating up. So stock up on all your rubs and sauces by purchasing them at willowseasonings.com. That's willowseasonings.com. They have the best. They have award-winning sauces and seasonings. You can find them over at willowseasonings.com. And right now, guys, they have that promo code that's exclusive to us, DBR2023. That's DBR2023. And type that in. Got that little promo code box. You get 15% off, guys. That's 15% off your purchase. I'm telling you guys, Blue Ribbon, award-winning. I mean, year after year, they're getting awards, guys. The best sauces and seasonings. I was thinking about this. My wife, and I got to be honest, doesn't like sauces, doesn't like seasonings. She loves sauces, not so much seasonings. The other day, she's like, let's put it this way. She's the steak just on the grill. Don't put anything on it. Serve it up, put some butter on it, maybe a little bit of salt. That's all she did. The other day, she was looking for some Memphis-style barbecue seasoning because she's so in love with those rubs. So and seasonings, she loves them now. She's a spice girl now. So like I said, willowseasonings.com. Check them out. Appreciate it. Guys, we're going to get out of here. I appreciate everyone that jumped in here. I'm going to get to the last few comments, and it's Michelle coming in here. First and foremost saying, great show. Roger jumping in over on YouTube. Appreciate it, Roger, saying getting cooler here in Utah. Kenny coming in here and saying, great show, guys. Prediction, Dolphins 33, Broncos 27. Sorry, guys. I didn't throw a prediction, but we may have that pregame show. I'll throw my prediction out then. Albert is an awesome Broncos fan, and that is coming in for Mr. Michael Ronquillo. Should have known because of those stars. And, man, getting the super love there, Albert, man. I love it. And Albert's coming in saying, we're in Utah. Well, they're going to get all caught up in there, and it's getting cooler in Colorado, too, and that's coming from Trevor. Nothing's cooler than all of you who have joined the show tonight. We appreciate you all a ton. I'm going to get out of here with my comical to Jody outline. So I want you to, again, keep your feet in the stirrups. Keep your guns in your now
holsters.
I'm all messed up. Keep your guns in your holsters, but most importantly, Broncos fans, keep the Broncos in your heart. Until next time, guys. Certainly Tuesday at 7. Watch for that pregame show. We'll see you soon, guys. Good night.